Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. I'm glad you're joining me today. Alright, let's get into the news. It looks like more corruption in the state of Michigan. We've been covering the state of Michigan now for the least over a year now with the governor Gretchen Whitmer, who is very corrupt. And of course, the FBI field office head that came out of there who set up the kidnapping hoax was also responsible for the January 6th house also came out of Michigan. And now we have the Attorney General for the state of Michigan using her powers in order to go after her GOP opponent. This goes right in line with Nancy Pelosi and her witch hunt Biden in his DOJ as they've been rounding up people that are Trump supporters. This corruption is deep, and this something that needs to change after this upcoming election if Republicans are able to capture the House and Senate to hold these institutions accountable. It says Michigan corrupt Attorney General Dana Nessel is drunk on powder-powered threatens to indict GOP opponent Matt Dupree. No, this is happening in Michigan, always happening in Michigan. Now Ag Nessel is straining her opponent in an upcoming 2022 election. Jeff Timmer, a senior advisor for the national campaign, tweeted out on Wednesday that her boss, Republican challenger, Matt DePinto, has to remain unindicted to qualify for a debate. Timur tweeted the threat just after the Pre-No criticized Nestle's efforts to enforce the state's 1931 abortion ban, following the Supreme Court's overturn of Roe v. Wade, considered this as official campaign response. Timur tweeted, "I can't commit that Dana will debate you. All you have to do is 1. Become the official GOP nominee and to remain unindicted. 3. Allowed Dana to Mirandize you at the beginning of the debate, easy peasy, right? Let me know." This is the campaign advisor for the Attorney General of Michigan threatening the course the GOP challenger. The Attorney Dupree was instrumental in uncovering issues with the Dominion voting machines. And after him County, this was the first real audit in the country where the voting systems were investigated from the 2020 election. Multiple material uses were uncovered. So yeah, this is how the Democrat Party responds to people that are in the Republican Party who are challenging to power and continue to support President Donald Trump, continues to support the efforts into investigating things that took place a couple of years ago, and holding these corrupt officials accountable. This is how they respond. They respond by trying to utilize the power they currently have, and going after them and guiding them, trying to take him out of the contest because they know they can't win in a fair election, they can't win on their ideas, they can't win on the platforms that they currently run on. That is not very popular in the US. The Democrat Party's platform is not popular in the United States. This is why they have to use other methods to ensure that they can win, because that's why they use the courts the way they do. That's why they used it for Roe v. Wade. That's why they used it for gay marriage. This is why they use it for all these other institutions, how they circumvent the electorate in this country. As we know, gay marriage at the time was not popular in the United States. It was shot down in many states when it was put to a vote to people, Democrats who care about democracy, when it was actually put to the vote. They strongly rejected it, and in of all states, California, and Prop 8. If you guys remember, Prop 8 was one of those things where Democrats put it to the ballot, and their voters in that state overwhelmingly rejected it, and so not wanting to listen to the electorate, what did they do? They went and round the electric process and went straight to the courts to try to get done through the courts. This is how Democrats operate. They sit there and they say they're pro-democracy, they're pro-you voting and showing your voice. But when it comes to the end of the day, if you don't vote the way they want you to vote, they'll find other ways to make sure what they want done is done the way they want. This is why it's so important to get these people away from power as much as possible. This is why it's important for us to continue to vet our candidates, continue to vet them through the primary process, and ensure that we don't have people that sympathizers with the Democrat Party that aren't running as Republicans. This is on CNN. Liz Cheney is going to make criminal referrals, including potentially Trump and their man talking about everything everybody is talking about, or all these publications are talking about. Not prosecuting Trump would feel a much greater threat. Liz Cheney says, "That's ABC. You have Business Insider. Cheney, I will let men claiming executive privilege go after the credibility. Or no, Hutchinson's character. It's like, well, you provided no evidence. And there's an article in Reuters. FBI finds scant evidence that January was coordinated. Okay. Scant evidence is doublespeak, for there was no evidence that could be used in a court of law. It wasn't coordinated. If anything, if they tried to indict Trump, what he would do is the following: he would say, "You want to go after me? We're now going to find out how many government officials in different agencies were there that day, and why they were there. And we're going to have them testify under oath." I don't think the government wants that. I don't think the Department of Justice wants that. I don't think the Bureau wants that when you have an interaction between a Bureau official and Ted Cruz. Basically, Ted Cruz asking the Bureau official, "Hey, how many agents did you have that day?" And the official under oath says, "You know what? We can't talk about that." So Yahoo FBI finds no evidence that Trump and his allies were directly involved with organizing criminal activity of the Capitol. So that's a Business Insider article, August 28, 2021. We're going on a year that the Federal Bureau of Investigation hasn't found any evidence that anything was coordinated. You can look Business Insider or Reuters. There are other articles talking about the initial investigations pointing to just a tragic event. By the way, it would be nice if Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger brings up the female unarmed Trump supporter whose life was taken that day, or any left-leaning activist. This is a woman who was unarmed, and her life was taken. Where's the outrage? There is no outrage on the left. And so you have this very bizarre hysteria still regarding Trump. It will never end for some people. You can have a recession. We are in a recession right now, 8 to 9% inflation. Gas prices are going to be through the roof yet again. But I've talked a lot about this. They don't have anything on Trump. He's going to announce in about a week or so, probably less than that. And they have nothing on him. All they have is hysteria and this apoplectic obsession with his personality. They think he's capable of anything, but then they disregard Hillary with private servers and she's going to run again. You watch. You watch. You will eventually run again. I'll be vindicated. I'll be right. And you know what? It'll be the best thing for the country. The bet we need to redo 2016 for a number of reasons. Okay, you can't have Liz Cheney going after Trump. You can't have a Republican Party that's still Trump has transformed GOP, so Liz Cheney and Kinzinger, they're on the way out. Liz Cheney is 30 points down. She's gonna lose to Mary Hagerman. She basically is already lost in Wyoming. Kinzinger is not even running for re-election. Neither of them could fill a library full of supporters, not even a library. If either of them come out with a book, maybe 20-30 copies will be sold. And it's doubtful how many Democrats will even buy copies. So they've done nothing to help the country, only divide the country. And you're actively dividing and promoting tribalism when you're going after Trump and ignoring churches being burned to the ground. Where's Kinzinger, Cheney, and Democrats condemning what's taking place with churches around the country? Again, this is not about Democrats are very fond of saying, "What about Islam?" No, it's called hypocrisy. It's called hypocrisy. That's when you're a hypocrite. The natural reaction is, well, what about a much greater issue that you are ignoring? While you're focusing on a less important issue? The topic of Trump organizing a mob of people and sending them to harm Pence is a nightmare that never existed. He didn't organize a group of people and specifically tell them to commit criminal acts against Pence, or the Capitol, or anyone else. He had the right to demonstrate. He used the word peaceful. It was bad. He shouldn't have had that day, actually. He should have known that there could have been government agents there. He should have known that chaos could have ensued. And that Democrats in media were just waiting to pounce. And that, there was a likelihood that something unpredictable could have taken place. But that day took place. And he probably was emboldened, or at least said, hey, if Democrats and left-leaning organizations are demonstrating all throughout that summer. And I agree with the cause, but I don't agree with $1 to $2 billion in property damage. And 19 lives lost and 14,000 arrests. If you are going to make the case that Trump is responsible for damage and criminal activity because of his rhetoric, then what about the rhetoric of Democrats all throughout that summer? Kamala Harris, others? What about the rhetoric of Democrats and the fact that they did not condemn? Most did not condemn $1 to $2 billion in property damage. CNN even had a building in flames behind the journalist, saying it was fiery, but mostly peaceful. Everyone knows nobody, like most Americans, 70% of Americans don't trust media, Because they can see with their own eyes what media is doing. Media has one political party that it works for. And late night, one political party's social media algorithms, one political party, it's not about people talk about the culture war. It's not really about that. I think it's about one political party pushing an ideology that benefits it, that suits it. And they don't even believe in the idea. You could talk about climate change, for example. Yes, it's important. It's a real issue. It's serious. But it's not. You cannot transform the economy immediately from fossil fuels to renewables, and everything Democrats did in Biden did directly cause an increase in price and inflation, and the recession that we're having. His policies caused oil and gas associations and 14 states to sue him because he wanted to transform the economy too quickly. You can't do that. We don't even have the technology to transform the US economy from fossil fuels to renewables. We don't even have a technology. And then you had Democrats gleefully tanking the US economy 2 years ago, and you didn't have to do that, that was a choice. But they didn't prosecute Clinton for top secret intelligence on servers. They're not prosecuting. I mean, they will eventually prosecute Hunter, because you'll have almost certainly, and they will definitely impeach Joe Biden numerous times. Because those emails and those voicemails show that the vice president knew that Hunter was making money for him. Though the emails literally state that, yeah, give 10% to the big man, meaning Joe. How can you use your influence on the company's behalf? Joe forcing out a prosecutor hundreds of millions of tens of millions of dollars in business deals. While Joe and Hunter are meeting business associates, and they're both lying about it, especially the vice president at the time and the current president, mashed potato brains anyway. If they end up indicting Trump, and I'm saying it's a possibility in the future, just because they want to knock them out of 2024, they'll get DeSantis. And they'll also lose the trial. And that'll do more harm to the Democratic Party than it will to the country, even although it'll harm the country, but it'll do more harm to the Democratic Party. They cannot find anything on Trump. They simply cannot find anything on Trump because he did not commit a crime. With Democrats, they did commit crimes. Top secret intelligence on private servers is a crime. Clinton, anyone else not named Hillary Clinton would have been indicted and charged and lost the trial. And anyone else not named Hunter Biden would have already been indicted and charged and lost the trial because those emails show clear violations of law. If you appreciate these updates, please smash that like button,